Hey, what's going on, YouTube? This is CJ. We're jumping right back into episode 23 of the Be Easy Reef. Now, this is a full build playlist. We are finally getting to the nitty gritty, showing the good, the bad, and the ugly of this tank through its first 6 months of life and further. So, as you guys see, this is going to be some old footage of LYNGBYA when it was at its worst stages in my tank, covering everything back wall, rock skate, corals, and just on a mission to completely crash my system and tap me out of the hobby. But we don't do that. We don't tap around here. We document it, we record it, and we share the experience to hopefully encourage anyone else fighting this devil in their tank and, show them how I got rid of it. So, or at least how I feel I helped the tank. I don't know if I'm completely rid of it, but we definitely are right on track to letting this tank mature and hopefully putting this behind us. So before we get going too far, let me kind of break down a couple new items that I purchased for this potential fix. And it starts off with the Marine Land in-tank canister filter. The main purpose for it was going to be to polish the water, catch any, free floating LYNGBYA that I remove, and then also, running carbon through it once it was time to get the tank, chemical free. Now we also doubled down on removable mechanical filtration via the Amazon 15-foot filter flaws pads that they sell. Just hacked them down to size. They fit into the Sump's overflow compartment, which is going to be perfect for what I need it for. And after that, it's time for good old-fashioned labor. The Be Easy toothbrush is back in effect. Actually, the BRS toothbrushes. But hey, we got what we had to get, and we got busy getting this stuff off the rock work, off the walls, off whatever we could remove it from, power heads, everything, and anything in between. And the main goal was just to manually export as much of this stuff out of the tank as possible before we started attacking it chemically, which is what I did wrong the first time around when I actually crashed the tank a couple of months ago. For those who forgot, episode 17 of the Be Easy Reef build. And basically, we tried to attack what we thought was hair algae with fluconazole, following the instructions, basically isolating the tank, no carbon, no skimmer, no water changes for 2 weeks, and ultimately melted this stuff. But in doing so, poisoned the tank because as it melted, all those poisons and chemicals from within the LYNGBYA took out the cleanup crew, some acros, and just did not go well. So in this situation, lessons learned. We're going to get this stuff out of here. So between the Marine Land intake filter, and routing a siphon hose down to the sump for unlimited, mechanical filtration, whether it's siphoning the sand bed or just leaving it in the tank, we had a plan to get this stuff out. Now, I didn't let it stay long. As soon as those pads clogged up, removed them, swapped them, basically every day. And then when it came to the Marine Land filter, I just kind of let that thing focus on the small particles that didn't have a time to go down the overflow. Whatever was still left free floating, we were just going to attack it 3 ways. In the tank, through a siphon hose, and the overflow. So we got 3 different forms of mechanical filtration going at the same time. And ultimately, guys, we made a lot of progress. So, back wall's clean. And for the most part, we got a lot of the fuzziness off the rockworks, and it's time to move on to phase 2 of the fix. Now, before we get too far, I do want to take a second and acknowledge where I got this potential cure from. And it came from a couple of sources, but starting off with Telegram or Jim, let me know he had LYNGBYA in his system and he tried this fix on it. And Lynn Reef Nerd also kind of shared an experience with using this potential fix. And I tell you guys, if 2 people have success, we are going to try it on our system. And by that, we are going to do a combination of ChemiClean and reflux. So for me, it kind of makes sense, considering when I use reflux, unknowing of what this really was months ago and how it melted in the tank, and not using ChemiClean to prevent it from growing back, I kind of see how this fix could make sense. Meaning, get the stuff out of your tank first so you limit what breaks down in the system. Let the reflux melt it, or basically kill it off in the tank, and then let the ChemiClean, whatever it does, to help prevent it from coming back. So this is going to be a 3-step process of trying to get this stuff dead and, removed from the system once and for all. And if it worked for 2 other people, I'm going to give it a try on my tank. And hopefully, after a few weeks go and maybe a few months, we can finally stamp this as a potential cure for LYNGBYA or maybe potential other, nasties in your tank. So the key part is just making sure that you don't overdo it. I actually did a half dose of both. So I did a half dose of reflux and a half dose of ChemiClean in my system. And then of course, taking the skimmer cup off because it's going to foam over. And then, just continually manually removing the LYNGBYA. The key is don't let this stuff just set in your filters. Don't let it set in your filter floss, because once those chemicals go in, it is going to start killing it wherever it is in your water column. So, getting that stuff out is pretty much what we did. And we broke this fix up over 2 weeks. The first treatment, just kind of let it roll for a week or so. And then after that first week, hit the tank again with a second dose of ChemiClean and reflux. So as we kind of go through this footage, you guys can kind of see how the tank is reacting to it. And for the most part, it wasn't nothing immediate. I'd say the first 2 or 3 days, you kind of start seeing a little weakening, nothing really melting or anything yet. But it wasn't until we did the blackout on the tank, which was around 2 days or so, that we noticed a major difference. So, a blackout right in the middle of the treatment definitely was kind of the final gut punch, so to speak, that really kind of lightened up the rock work and let things really show that this process was working. So, definitely a skeptic to say the least, and nervous about what the outcome was going to be as far as my livestock and coral and all those kind of things. Really wasn't sure, but I tell you what, after 2 weeks of running this process and noticing how much cleaner the rock was getting, continually manually removing it and watching it kind of wither away, watching it brush off the rock work easier and easier each time, I really feel like the combination of those two has definitely helped. Now, I will tell you, it's not without casualties. I still lost a couple of corals, including forest fire digitata, cleanup crew, still non-existent in the tank. So I wouldn't say this is a foolproof, safe plan, but it definitely got some results, and I'm pretty happy with it. So once the treatment was done, or at least went as far as I wanted it to go, who's to say that it shouldn't go 3 weeks or 4 weeks? But I felt like 2 weeks got me enough results to finally start exporting all of the chemicals, the reflux, the ChemiClean, whatever LYNGBYA actually did die and melt in the water column. It was just time to get all that stuff out. And the best way I could think to do it was going to be water changes. Now, I didn't go with the little water changes. We did consecutive 40 to 50% water changes until we pretty much turned over 100% of the water volume in the tank. The goal was to make sure that the skimmer wasn't foaming over anymore, to make sure I didn't see any noticeable, smells or anything else that looked poisonous in the tank. I just wanted to get a fresh start. Let's kill this stuff off and let's change the water and let's get everything out. And then finally, replacing carbon in the Marineland canister filter was the final touch. So putting that right under the display gave it direct contact with any LYNGBYA or anything else in the system that needed to be removed, and that's pretty much it. The only thing I could not do was drain off the skimmer, meaning skimming it off into a larger container because the sump is a little too tall, but we was able to work this out manually and chemically with the carbon. So either way, went pretty well. So once we got the tank completely purged of all chemicals, or at least the most that I could see, it was time to replenish all of the cleanup crew. All the little workers, all the little guys that we're going to need to help eat and munch on anything that may come back, any cyanos, any algae, anything else on the rock work. Considering so many things happen to the tank, it's time to replenish it. So we added pods, and then we added a gang of cleanup crew, meaning multiple kinds. Nocyrus snails, trochus snails, turbo snails, other snails I don't know the name of. Basically, added everything I could because I understand that all these cleanup crew members have different appetites for different types of algae and things in the tank. And I figured I would go ahead and get a full buffet and hopefully let these guys kind of do their thing. And for the most part, they did a really good job. So let's fast forward a few weeks. This is going to be 2.5 weeks post-treatment. I was really holding my breath like, man, I've seen this stuff die off before, but it came back the next week. If I could make it past the 2-week spot, I felt like, it was time to move forward with the build, and that's exactly what we did. And we didn't do it in a small way. If you guys have been watching my channel, watching some of the older videos, you will see that we reloaded the entire tank with corals, guys. And during this process, the LYNGBYA has not returned. And by saying not returned, it is not covering the back wall. There's some spots in the rock work that were really bad up top where the high flow, high light areas were. It's completely gone. And then as far as other places, there's still tucks of long, flowy, stringy looking stuff. I'm not sure if it's LYNGBYA or different kinds of algae, but whatever it is, I would say it's safe to say it's less than 10% of what it was before. And we're going to continue to keep manually removing it. So, at this point, I'm not really sure if I could say this is the fix that ends all be all for the LYNGBYA issue in my tank, but I do felt like it knocked it down to a very manageable level to where I'm going to continue to be able to, keep manually removing it. The cleanup crew is going to keep helping me with it. And the best part is it doesn't appear to keep coming back from the places that we clean up. So basically me knocking it off, and then the turbo snails and whatever other snails and cleanup crew are coming to hit it later, that spot stays clean. And that is the status of the tank today. As you guys can see, total difference from the beginning of this video. And I'm really kind of skeptical putting a video out like this and saying this is the cure for it, because I'm just sharing my result with it along with, positive results from 2 other people and maybe a 4th, waiting on them to let me know what the results were of using this fix on their tank. So if you can do this, proceed with caution. Make sure that you are keeping an eye on your nutrients, because you will see a spike in nutrients in your tank. Make sure you keep an eye on your alkalinity and your dosing, because your consumption will also drop in the tank during this time. You're going to pretty much put your tank in a state of chaos. So make sure you are monitoring it and, be prepared to abort mission if something doesn't look right. So, other than that, a lot of people asked what I did, or a lot of people may have been wondering, did CJ ever get past it? How the hell has he loaded his tank back up with corals? Well, now you know the truth. So hopefully this helps someone. And if not, hey, stay along with the journey. I'm going to keep it real with you guys and let you know what happens next. So as always, you guys like, comment, subscribe. You guys keep doing what y'all do. Y'all be easy and happy reefing. Peace.